What up, people? AJ Adams here, back at it again. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to create incredible, amazing, awesome looking thumbnails for YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're going to use them without using Photoshop. This is real simple. Now, let me preface by saying this. The reason that I'm going to show you this is because I know that not everyone knows how to use Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop. Now, my agency, D6 Media, we do brand development, brand design. We do all that digital marketing. We make brands look fantastic. We've done it for personality brands, celebrities, CEOs, $100 million lifestyle brands. We've done all that. And I don't know how to use Photoshop at all. My 15-year-old, who is a freshman in high school, is taking a Photoshop class. She knows Photoshop better than I do. But I can still create the things I need for my personal brand, whether it's quote pictures or, in this case, thumbnails for YouTube specifically. And I'm going to talk about YouTube specifically, even though you can use it for Facebook, for an ad, for different things like that. But YouTube specifically, because I am very focused right now in terms of my personal brand on what I'm doing on YouTube and growing that audience. Because YouTube is a fantastic platform, tons of free organic engagement, and it's just a place where you need to be placing your brand and your content. So I'm going to show you how I have done this for years without knowing Photoshop. And to give you context, the reason why I know how to do this is because I had to learn it out of necessity. I needed to have better images. I needed to learn how to create things to build my brand. If you don't know, I started as a motivational speaker and no one knew who I was. So the way that I got booked on stages, starting small and then eventually stages in front of 6,000 people, on stage with Les Brown, Kevin Harrington, speaking at his event, is because I built a brand. So I learned these things out of necessity, and I only do what I sell, and I only teach what I've done, only sell what I've done. So I'm going to show you how I do this very, very simply, and how you can do it as well without being a Photoshop expert at all. So let's jump into it right here. All right, so here's what I use, and here's what you can use without knowing Photoshop. Something as simple as PowerPoint or Keynote. Either one, if you're on a Mac, you can use Keynote. Either one will work well. Now, when I started, I didn't have a Mac, so I'm just going to go ahead and use PowerPoint, but you can use both of them. And it's real, real simple. Now, if you're like me, you might have some creativity, and I'm pretty creative, but I'm not a graphic designer. When it comes to branding, I don't design, I don't do all that. I'm a strategist. I figure out messaging and strategy, how the brand should look, and then I have my team create it. But step number one, if you want to create great YouTube thumbnails, you first got to understand why it's important. So I'll explain to you why it's important to have your YouTube thumbnails branded properly. And here's why. When someone's scrolling through YouTube, let's say they want to learn about personal branding. That's my space, so I'll use that. They want to learn about personal branding. You notice the videos that have the most views are either videos that are by a channel that has massive number of subscribers, like TED Talks, TEDx Talks, 18 million, or a channel that has less subscribers, 1,000, but this is still at 4,300 views. They've got thumbnails. You notice that there are thumbnails there. This one, TED Talks, they've got massive number of viewers, a lot of equity there, so they don't really have to have a great thumbnail. But the rest of these videos, Lewis Howes, thumbnail, Gary Vee, Roberto Blake, Dan Locke, all of these have thumbnails that will catch your eye. Because when someone's scrolling through looking for something, you've got to have something that's going to catch their attention. And having just a generic kind of video is not going to capture their attention. Case in point, I'll filter this real quick by the most recent videos. So let's say videos that were uploaded about personal branding in the last week. Now, see this one, 32,000 views, cool looking thumbnail. This one here, 266 views. Let's see. This one doesn't really have a great thumbnail, and it's got one view. Harry Kaminsky, great looking thumbnail. So that's one of the key things that you want to do. I have a great looking thumbnail. And the reason that I know this, my channel isn't huge. I don't have a huge number of subscribers. We're still under 1,000. But I did invest in a YouTube training, and I know that this is one of the things that I've got to do to grow my channel. It's what's worked on other platforms. And I'll show you, case in point, with my own YouTube channel. So no, I have 437 subscribers. And I've started to really brand everything consistent with what my current brand is. But here, this video, 9,600 views, really cool looking thumbnail. And I can go through my videos and look at the ones that have the most views. This thumbnail is just very, very clear what it is, 4,000 views. And that's just organic. None of these were promoted. 335 views. So it's a combination of the thumbnail, the combination of the title, if it's more searchable than other titles. What are people searching for on YouTube? This one, 53 views. So you can see you've got to have great titles to your videos. You've got to have thumbnails that will get people to stop scrolling. And you can see the evolution of my brand. I went from thumbnails that looked really bad 3 years ago to today, thumbnails are looking pretty solid. So I'm going to stay consistent with that and allow my channel to grow. But let me show you how to create those. So step number one, you got to be clear on what your brand is. And there are 4 key questions I teach. And I have a program called Brand Attraction Masterclass. You can click and link to it in the description below. It's a free training. And if you want to get more, there's a way for you to do that. You can book a call with me and book a free strategy call. But I teach in there that there are 4 key questions that your audience, your target market is asking. Those questions are, number 1, who are you? Number 2, what do you do? Or what do you stand for if you're a cause-driven brand? Number 3, who do you serve? They need to know it's for them. And number 4, what unique value and results do you deliver? Your brand needs to answer those 4 key questions. Once you have that clear, then you can define your branding. You can define the look and the feel of it. So my brand, I want it to look, I'm in the space of branding, and brand attraction is kind of my thing. I teach entrepreneurs how to attract better clients, bigger opportunities, greater income, basically the things that I've done by building a brand that is more attractive because they get crystal clear on who they are, what they do, those 4 key questions. And with that, the aesthetic of my brand is black, gold, and white. So I use those primary colors. I typically, when I'm speaking on stage or I'm presenting, I will wear either a suit or I'll just wear a blazer, but I typically dress up. I don't wear Dunder Mifflin t-shirts when I'm on stage, but I'm at home right now and it's a Friday, so I'm relaxing today, but I want to make this video for you. So that's consistent. Now that I have that defined, I can start creating thumbnails. And if you're not sure what yours should look like, you can take inspiration. So I think it was Leonardo da Vinci said, good artists copy, great artists steal. Now, you don't want to steal someone's everything, but you can steal the ideas. So for example, Dan Locke is someone who I follow on YouTube and social media in general, got a lot of great content. So I'll look at people whose content I really like, I like their style, I like their brand, and I'll pull inspiration. So I can kind of see, what kind of text he's using, what kind of fonts, or what kind of images, what I like about it, and I'll take from it what I like. I can look at someone like Gary Vee. Kind of look and see what I like, what is he doing, take note of those elements. You can write them down, fonts, colors, style. Grant Cardone is another one. Again, you're just looking for inspiration, looking for ideas to define your own brand. What kind of thumbnails? Now, Grant does a lot of videos where there is no thumbnail, but he's got a pretty massive following to drive traffic there. But you see the ones with the most views are typically the ones that have a great thumbnail because it catches your attention, tells you what the video is about, so that you'll stop and scroll and watch. So how do you create yours? Well, I'll show you. So here's kind of a finished one. You can kind of see here, this is the most recent one I did. Real simple, really, really simple. You can see I've got different text here, and I had some different images around here. So this is just kind of the workspace. But this is just PowerPoint. And I'll show you some of the ones that I've created in PowerPoint. So you can actually see the end results of it. So I'll pull up this folder here. So here's a folder where I have all of my thumbnails, and I think I can zoom this in for you. Yeah, there we go. So these were all created in PowerPoint. 4 questions to build your brand. These are all videos I recently uploaded to YouTube. Some that are a little ridiculous. I got my head on there. Let me zoom into that so you can actually see that nonsense. Let me see if I can actually. I'm zoomed in too much. But I got my head on Dwayne Johnson. That video is about building an attractive personal brand, how to become the expert authority. So there are three or four really simple elements. Element number one is the text. Element number two is the image of me. I make sure I'm on every thumbnail because it is my brand. I am promoting myself. Then I've got the background image. And then I have an overlay. So those four elements: text, image of me, background image, and then the overlay. And I'll show you how that all gets put together. But these are examples. This is what you can do, and they look great. They're sized properly for YouTube. So it works out perfectly. This is why I love it. It's real simple. Don't have to know Photoshop. You don't have to be a graphic designer. You can still have great looking thumbnails. So let me now show you how to create something like this. So let's start with a blank slate. I'll blow this up so we can see it clearly. Make this bigger for you. Take a little sip of Dr. Pepper. All right, so I'm going to remove all this because I don't need this here. I'll insert text later. But I want to create a thumbnail, and let's just pick something random. So let's say my video is on, well, for example, I'll create a thumbnail for this video. And by the time you're watching this, you've already seen it. So it's kind of meta. But this video is on how to make YouTube thumbnails without Photoshop. So here's what I'll do. I want to get some inspiration for the thumbnail. And I want to copy what is already working. Don't reinvent the wheel, improve on the wheel, innovate the wheel. So I'll look up how to create YouTube thumbnails without, without Photoshop. There we go. So these are videos. Some of these are a year ago, 9 months ago. And then let me see. So I'm looking at the thumbnails. And these look like these are all by some of the same people. These are all gamers. So I don't want that because I'm not a gamer. So I don't want to get confused with that. Something like this, 2,300 views from a year ago. So this has 42,000 views from a couple years ago. But let's see what's been posted recently. Let's look in the last month and see how many views they have. 1,000 views, 336 views. Okay. You want to stay consistent with your brand. 5,000 views. So there's a real variety. So this was 10 months ago. This one is just an image with text, real simple. So in this case, I'm just going to go with what's consistent for my brand. And here's why. I don't want to attract gamers. Gamers is not my target audience, so I don't want it to look like that, because when they're looking for it, that's who I'm gonna attract. So I don't want that. So I'm gonna just brand it for myself. So first thing I'm gonna do is add text. Insert text box. And what I'll do is how to create. I'm going to break up the text. So I'll copy, paste that. Actually, here's what I'll do first. Let me format this the way that I want it. So click home. I'll blow this up again for you. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. So I want this text to be much bigger, and I'll center it so it makes it easy for me to. Actually, I'll keep it left. So I'm going to probably put the text over to the side, on the left side. And I'll make that text bigger, and then I may use a dark background, but I'll leave the text like that for now. But I want it to look much more interesting. So I can come here, and I'm not going to put a line around the text, but I want it to stand out a little bit, so I'll put a shadow on it. And I may change this later, but I'm just going to go through some of the things I typically do. You can add different effects to it. This is real simple stuff. And I'll just do that for now. Let me put that aside. So let's start with what kind of background image I want to use. So let me just grab an image from my files. Now, what you can do is you can keep a stockpile of images for stockpile of images of your of yourself, of events you've been at. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go to my YouTube page because I want it to be relevant. I want the background image to be relevant to what the video is. I want to have something random, some random backdrop. So I'm going to do this, go to my own YouTube channel, and then go to my videos. And then I'm just keeping it simple. So I'm going to do a screenshot, which on a Mac is Shift-Command-4. And then I'm just going to do this. I'm going to grab a screenshot of all this right here. Boom, just a whole bunch of my thumbnails. And I'll move this page out of the way, go back here. And then I'll just copy and paste. Oops, actually I won't copy and paste, I gotta grab the image first. So go to my screenshots. And I'll find that image. There it is. So just drag it and drop it in here. All right. And then I can just resize it. So it'll automatically line it up. Now I want it to be the right size. So I always make it a little bit bigger because this white box, what the finished product is going to be what's in this white box. And I don't want it to have any kind of white edge. So I'll typically put whatever the background image is, I'll move it, adjust it slightly so that it's just outside of that box. And then if you want to know what it's going to look like, you can just expand this. I'll move myself out of here. And then you can see it here. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with how that looks. So I'll shrink that down. And then what I'll do, you can also click the image, and then you can click on picture format. You can crop it, and then you just drag that up or down. Again, it'll automatically align, but I'm going to keep it slightly below that border. But I don't want it so big that I don't know where my edges are. So as long as I keep it within like a ½ inch of here on this screen, then I'll be fine. I'll blow this up a little bit so we can see what we're working with. Now, I don't want this to show like this because if I put text over it, it's just going to disappear. And if the text disappears in the background, then I just need to rearrange these elements here. And I can select that one and bring it to the front. So now it's on top, but now you can't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert another layer here. So I'm just going to insert a shape. Now, when you're using Photoshop, because I do understand how Photoshop works, even though I don't use it, I have to understand how it works so that when I'm working with my designers on my team, I can explain what I want done and I can understand what they're saying. But I'm just going to insert a shape. And this is just a layer. So I've got the photo layer, and I've got this shape here. Now I'm going to make it black. And now I don't want it to cover the background image, so I could change the color here too. So even if I wanted to make it gold, I could do that. And then I could come to click on this little arrow here, and then more fill colors, and then opacity. I can change that, and I'll change it to 50. See how that looks. Okay, so now that looks a little better, but I don't really like that, so I'll make it black. Undo that, and I'll just change it from here. So I can do that. So now you can still see the thumbnails in the back, but you see the difference. Now I can actually put text over it, but I don't want the text to be black because obviously it'll disappear. So let me select that. I'll go home and I'll change the text to white. And see, now it's behind that other layer. So here's what you can do. You can just click arrange, and you can click one of these buttons to bring it to the front, or you can do reorder objects or reorder overlapping objects, either one. And it just pulls it up like this. Looks really cool. So the text here is in the middle. It's layer number 2. I want it to be layer number 1. So I'm going to grab it, click and grab, just drag it to the front. Boom. So now it's on top. But now I want it to be much bigger than that. So we'll blow it up. And I want it to be a different font. So I want to be consistent. So I'm going to go back to what I was using, and this font is, I'm going to select this font. You can select whatever font you want. So that's one that I like for my brand. So I can select all of it like that, or I can just click the box. And it's already here because it's a recent font. So I can do that. And now I'll put the rest of the text. So I'll just copy this, Command-C, Command-V to paste it. And again, PowerPoint will automatically line it up. If I drag it over, it'll stick. So how to create, and I'm going to put thumbnails. I'm not going to put YouTube thumbnails because it's already on YouTube. How to create thumbnails, and I'm going to copy and paste it again. Without Photoshop. Now the thing when you're putting the text in the on the thumbnail, you want the text to be simple. Don't put a whole bunch of words there. Even this is more than I like to use, but I kind of need to explain it. You just want to put the text that's relevant, whatever's most relevant. So I have some of my videos here that you can see in the background that just say 4 questions to build your brand, but the title is much longer because in the image I just want whatever's going to catch someone's attention. So now that I've got that text there, I know I can make the text much bigger. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And this layer here, I'm going to make this a little darker. So I go to Shape, Format, Shape Fill, do a little drop down arrow, more fill colors. And then I'll move it up to 75 so it's darker. And that might be too dark if you're looking at it on a mobile device. So let's adjust it slightly. Go to 70. Okay, that's better. Might even go lighter, but we'll leave it there for now. Okay, so now I've got 3 of my 4 elements: text, the overlay layer, and then the background image. Now I want to put an image of myself. So what I did, and I'll show this to you, I'll bring this onto the screen, is I have a bunch of photos of myself that I did from a photo shoot. Just went downtown with a photographer. You can do this yourself. You can go against a white wall or a wall that's a solid color, something it has to be a solid color because it's easy for a graphic designer to remove the background. But I went out to a photo shoot and I was in the city, and as long as your clothes or your skin doesn't blend in with the background, a graphic designer can remove the background pretty easily. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up the folder where I have all of my images. So I gave my graphic designer a bunch of images of me. Now all of these had a background, and what I had them do was remove the background. So they went in to every one of these photos and removed the background. And then they gave them back to me in a PNG format. And you want it to be a PNG format because a PNG file, a PNG image, has a transparent background. And I'll show you what that looks like. So let's say creating thumbnails, let me just pick a image I want to use here. I'm going to actually use this for the video. So I will use, let's see, I haven't used one of these yet, of me actually on a phone. So I'll use that. And then I'm just going to drag and drop it. Just drag and drop it in there. Move this out of the way. I'll go back to full screen. So you can see how it has a transparent background. That's a PNG file. Now I'm going to crop it because when graphic artists did it, they didn't take out all this extra space. I don't know why. They should have done that. Now, if you don't have a graphic artist on staff or you don't know someone, what you can do is you can go to Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com. You can go there and you can hire a graphic artist to do that. So all of these images, I can hire a graphic designer on Fiverr to do that, and it'll cost maybe $10, $20 for 20 or 30 images. Really, really cheap. You know, get someone in India or in the Philippines, and for them, $5, $10, that's like making $25 to $50 an hour over here. So it takes them about an hour of their time, maybe, and then you get some great images. So I'll use this one. Now what I'm going to do, because now that I'm looking at the photo, I can decide where I want to put the photo. So I'll actually put it here. I'll leave it here on this side. And a little tip, when I create any images or I'm working with a client and we're designing something, we typically never have text to their back. We want that subconscious messaging where they're facing the text. So if I could move this over here, and I'm going to select all that text, just drag it over it. And you know, I actually like that better. So I'm going to do that. And then just to make sure I'm not going off outside of the edge of the image, I can look here and see what it's looking like. So that looks really good. So now you can already see how it's taking shape. I've got a bunch of thumbnails in the background, good looking thumbnails that fits with the photo. And the title is How to Create Thumbnails Without Photoshop. So the messaging that I'm giving is, I'm going to show you, this video is going to show you how to create thumbnails without Photoshop. There's me, my brand is there, and then a bunch of thumbnails in the background. So it's going to imply that I created my own thumbnails, which I do. And eventually I have a graphic designer do it. But part of the reason why I do a lot of this myself is partly out of habit. I'm getting to the point where I don't have time to do this myself anymore. So I will have to have a graphic designer do it because my businesses are growing. But I like to do things myself initially to learn the process so I can better communicate it to my team. So that's part of the reason why I do it. So now I've got this photo. I like it right here. Let me maybe blow it up a little bit. I'm just going to drag it. Let's see, maybe I don't want to drag it that much. I don't want to cut off my hand. It just looks weird. Okay, so I'll do that. And then if I want, I'm going to leave it there. Now just to keep it clean, I'm going to go to picture format. I'm going to crop it. And that's the edge. So I'll crop it with the background layer because that background layer is slightly past the edge. Because otherwise what happens is you'll get this. Or if you look in this image, it'll be cut off. And you don't want it to be cut off like that. So we bring it to the edge. You see this white line at the bottom, or over here on the left side, you don't want that. So I'm going to do everything I just did there. All right, I'll redo that. Okay, so cool. Now I've got my image there. Now, most of the elements are done. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fix the text. Then I'm going to add one more thing that you don't have to add, but I'm going to add it because it fits with this. So first, I want to make sure this text is big enough. You don't want the text too small because if someone's looking at it on a mobile phone, I mean, you can just look at your mobile phone and see how big it is. The thumbnail, when you look on a phone, if there's too much text, it ends up being smaller, which is not what you want. So I want to make sure it's not too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, I'm going to click and drag, select all of that, and make sure nothing else is selected. Then I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. That's probably big enough. And then let me fix this box here. And then let's just kind of rearrange this a little bit. Move this down. And I might stagger it a little bit just to make it look interesting. And again, these don't have to be perfect. If I get a graphic designer to do this, they're going to do it way better than I can. But again, part of the reason I do it myself because I want to fully understand their process. And that helps me be a better CEO or better communicate with the designer and having them create things. And sometimes you can do cool effects like this as well, where you have some of the text behind the image. Just kind of makes it look interesting. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to paste it in here. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because I want it to read how to create thumbnails without Photoshop. I'll figure out how to arrange this text where I like the way it looks. Looking for that red line, so it's all lined up. This one. I'm not totally sure I like the way that text is yet. So let me try this. This is an all caps font. I'll create thumbnails. Yeah, I don't like that either. And you just got to play around with it. Figure out what you like, what you don't like. That's the part that can take the most time. But again, don't try to be perfect, because you can have it as long as it's eye-catching. That's what really matters. Okay, so I'm just gonna put those things there. And I don't like this empty space. So what if I do like this? If I justify it this way. I'm going to change all of these. I think it's selecting the middle one. That's why. And justify it to the right. That way I can more easily line them up. There you go. Those are lined up. And this one is lined up. Make sure it's the same spacing in between. All right. And then select all of it. Oops. All right. So I still don't like that, but I'm going to come back to it. Now what I'm going to do is go back to my thumbnails that I created, that I showed you earlier. And I'm actually going to drop some of them in there. So let me pick which ones I want to use. Let's take this out of the maximum view. I'll use this one. That one's funny. I'll use that one. Whichever ones I think are best. I'll use some different colors too. So there's 3. That one I don't even really like. And I'll use this one. Yeah. So I'll just drag and drop those in. Move this out of the way. Now they're super huge. Now, if you drag and drop multiple at the same time, they're all going to be selected together. So I can actually just do this, shrink them down. Make sure this is checked. Otherwise, when you do that, if I don't have it checked, then it doesn't keep it in proportion. But if I have it checked, then it keeps it in proportion. All right, so I'm going to move this, give myself some more space to work with. I'm going to shrink this down slightly. Oh, so it didn't do it. I'll just move those. Not too worried about the size. And what I'm going to do is I want to make them all the same size, so I can look here and figure out what size I want it to be. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them here. So let's say I make them that size. So what is that? It's like 1.85 inches high. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I can just type that in. Now there's probably graphic designers watching this thinking, oh my gosh, this is the most complicated way to do it. Well, this is how you do it when you don't know Photoshop. The simplest way, honestly, is just get someone to do it for you. But again, I like to learn the process of creating things because it makes it easier for me to communicate to my team. That's been a real advantage for me in working with different designers. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these, so I can hold Command, I can click all of them, and I'm going to change the format of it. I'm going to add that little drop shadow, and then I like doing this, the bevel effect, which makes them kind of look cool. So I do that, and then I can rotate them if I want. Just make it look more interesting. That one there. Move this one back. The other one. And then put this one here. Now what I can actually do, I'm going to drag and select all these and make them slightly smaller so they don't go off the edge. I'll actually move this one here, that one there. This one here, and that one there. Just that. No, I'll leave that how it is. And boom, something that simple. Now, if I want to, again, adjust things, I can click this, your objects, and I can always move them around based on how I want it to fit. Real easy. Let me look, see how it's looking. Yeah, so I like how it's looking. You can see the several thumbnails there. It's actually a pretty good one. All right, so let me check the text. Now, because there's already a lot going on here, I'm not going to recolor this text necessarily. Move it up slightly. And then I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. I don't like how this is. Maybe I'll just stack them. I'll center all the text. Oops. All right. And make it slightly smaller. Boom. So how to create thumbnails without using Photoshop. You take a final look at it. What I can do is I can just blow it, go to presentation mode, and move my mug out of there. See if I like it. Just kept it real simple, nothing fancy. That'll work. Exit out of that. So here's what you do now. Now it has to be the right size. So when you go to YouTube and you go to a video, I'll go to Studio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to export it. So I'm going to click File, Export. And whenever you export from PowerPoint, it automatically does it as a PDF. I don't want a PDF, so I'm going to select PNG because that's the file format I want it in. Or you can do a JPEG, but a JPEG is a bigger file, so I'm going to do PNG. A PNG will give you good resolution, but with a smaller file size. Because on YouTube, when you're doing a thumbnail, it can't be any bigger. There is a limit on the size of the file. So I'll just click this one. So when I do a thumbnail, and click here, I'll just click on edit because I've already put one. Click edit. Oh, no. Let me see here. Here, I'll do this all. Well, you can Google it because it's not going to show you here because I've already put the custom one. But it'll tell you it can only be a certain size. The dimensions have to be right, and the file size can only be a certain size. So you can just type in YouTube thumbnail size. Everything you find on Google. So Dimensions at the largest 1280 by 720, and it has to be a minimum of 640 pixels wide or 16 by 9. And then the file size itself, I believe, can't be bigger than here we go, 2 megabytes. So right there, and it has to be in these formats. So I just do PNG because it'll be a big enough size of the image, big enough resolution, I should say, big enough resolution without the file size being too big. So I'm going to title this, I changed it to a PNG. I'm going to title it How to Create Thumbnails. And then I'm going to go to the folder I keep it in, which is going to be here, YouTube thumbnails. These are all my, actually that's not the file. Here it is. It's a different one. It is new social media content, thumbnails. I'm going to save it here. Now I can change the size. Now by default, PowerPoint makes it almost 3,000 pixels wide. Just double click in there or delete it and put 1080. That'll make it the right size. Then you export it and it's done. So then when I upload this video, I'll just put this in as a custom thumbnail, upload it, boom, and it's done. So there you go. That is a full walkthrough tutorial of how you can create thumbnails without using Photoshop. You can use, I'll bring my face back so you can see my pretty mug. So you can use Photoshop, or if you don't know Photoshop, you can just use PowerPoint. You can use Keynote, real simple. You can even use apps. There's different apps that you can use. I don't like to do that because I like to work on a desktop so I can see it bigger, see the size of everything. It's just easier to use. So there you go. If you're not a graphic designer, you don't have those skill sets, you don't have to go pay $800-900 for Photoshop software, whatever it costs. It's expensive. You don't have to spend time learning it because it can be it's a very powerful tool, but it takes time to learn it properly and use it effectively. Save yourself some time, save the money, do it yourself until you can afford to hire someone to do it for you. And even then, sometimes it's fun. I like to do it myself so I can have some sense of being creative because I typically just work on strategy. So there you go. If you want to learn more about how to build your personal brand, things like this, strategy, a whole lot of other stuff, make sure you click subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you can get new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and videos like this I post randomly. Just come up with the idea to give you value, and I post those on Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever other day. So make sure you check those out, and then click the link in the description to check out brandattractionmasterclass.com, where you can get free training on how to build your personal brand, hit multiple six figures. I'll teach you what I've done, and I only do what I sell. I do what I sell, and I sell what I've done. So check it out, but make sure you subscribe.